Hey guys, it's Runchuks from Bluff the Spot bringing you another episode of our weekly Twitch show together with my friend Toby. This time our guest is a mindset and performance coach, Adam Carmichael. We discuss so many important ideas. I learned a lot during this conversation and I hope you do too. Skip around if you're impatient, but there are a lot of gems in this one. Also, check out Adam's YouTube channel. He's posting short, informative videos on his topic twice a week. I'll put links in the description below. And of course, if you haven't already, I'd appreciate if you support this channel and subscribe. So let's go, enjoy. Adam, maybe you give the viewers a short intro of yourself, perhaps how a bit of your poker background, how you transitioned into coaching, and so just go ahead.
Yeah, sure. All right. So my background, I'll jump in from after graduating uni in 2011. So I did sports science at university. I was always quite an active guy. One of my friends stumbled across sharkscope.com, which used to be the #1 site for tracking profits. And he found the leaderboards of the heads-up sit-and-go world. And he basically saw loads of people making hundreds of thousands playing online poker. And it was a bit of an eye-opener for him. And he rang me up and said, Adam, I found some guys making loads of money playing online poker. Do you want to give it a try? I was like, yeah, it sounds good for them, but I'm not sure if I'm good enough to do this. So anyway, that opened up the thought process of is poker a viable option? Can we do it? And we started playing super low stakes. I think $7 heads up sit and goes, then $15 heads up sit and goes with a very limited bankroll. And we kind of weren't getting off the ground much. But we thought potentially like there is an avenue here. So me and my other two friends moved to Thailand for what we called a 3-month experiment. We paid for our rent up front and we went all in with poker for 3 months just to see if we liked the lifestyle, if we could learn the game, if it was a good fit for our personalities and what we want to do with our lives. And this is I was 23 at the time. And yeah, that experiment went well enough to stay a bit longer. I ended up in Thailand for about 9 months, progressed my way from the lower stakes to round about mid stakes or just below mid stakes, like $100 games, heads up sit and goes. And then I moved to Bali, which I am in Bali right now. I've been here for 5 years. And then, in my poker career, I progressed from the $100 games through to the $1,000 games, which is the highest format on most sites for heads up sit and goes. And I was a regular of those for a number of years before transitioning onto coaching. And for me, poker was always a great avenue to better myself, to become a better version of myself, and a challenge that I really enjoyed. And going into coaching was a natural fit for me because I've always kind of enjoyed learning stuff and teaching people. A lot of my teachers at school thought I was going to actually be a teacher. So I went into performance coaching and mindset coaching. Towards the end of my poker career, I was already working with people and getting people to reach out to me for coaching. And yeah, the last 2.5, almost 3 years now, I've been doing that close to full time and helping poker players to level up both their performance, their mindset, and also their lifestyle. In the angle I like to cover with helping players with performance, I like to get everything in balance and make sure they're not only having success at poker, but they're creating a life that has them fulfilled and towards their long-term objectives, and not treating poker as a kind of thing that they need to tick off or working too hard that they don't enjoy the journey as well. So yeah, that's kind of a bit of a very quick version of my last 8 or 9 years, I'd say. And yeah, here we are today.
Awesome. I like the fact that you basically your university studies were related to the topic that you actually are now working on, right? So it's a beautiful transition from, sports, which is still a big part of your life, and through this school of poker. And it's interesting that you found it as a vehicle for, as you said, bettering yourself, right? Because I do feel the same all the time as well, that basically this business allows me to constantly work on improving so many aspects of my life, apart from just becoming a better poker player. Technically, right, with theory knowledge, but just in terms of my structure of life in general, which is something that is going to be useful beyond poker. It's just such a huge part of life. So yeah, I find it really cool that you had this journey that led you to become a coach. As you said, your teachers thought that you might become a a teacher at one day, right? So
Yeah.
here you are. And in fact, it's interesting how I got to know about you is that one of my students, he's also your student.
Yeah.
And he told me about you, and he was like, "Oh, this is amazing! I'm so pumped working with Adam, and it's so cool." So I reached out to you, and I'm happy. I'm happy that he made the introduction. I'm happy that he, introduced me to your YouTube channel, by the way, which we're gonna post some links in the description at some point, and people can check it out. It's pretty cool. You're posting, I believe, 2 videos a week. You're
Yeah. Once a
quite a
week. Yeah.
hardworking YouTuber. so,
Yeah.
so it's
Side
awesome.
project.
Yeah, it's awesome, and especially it's interesting that the student of mine, or our mutual student, let's call him this way, our mutual student. A lot of the concepts that we talk about, like I talk with him and he talks with you about, are the same concepts, right? A lot
Yeah.
of overlapping ideas,
Yeah.
and it's great that he gets the reinforcement for, which probably is the key part of his on his way to success. Like if anything is gonna be the key ingredient in him becoming one of the best in the field that he chose to become, this is it. So it's great that he's doubling down on it, and he's seeking all sorts of resources, and so yeah. So
Yeah.
shout out
Yeah.
to him. I don't know if he's watching, but he's definitely gonna watch at least the replay. He
Yeah.
already
He will.
texted me today, and it was like, "Oh, this is exciting," and yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to him.
All right.
I got
So,
a couple of questions.
all right.
First of all, why did you quit poker? Was it like because it wasn't fun anymore, or is it because you enjoy teaching more?
I guess a combination of both. So I played poker for 6 years, and I was playing like really long hours. I was doing like probably 50 to 70 hours per week on average for that full 6 year duration. I was kind of a supernova elite grinder in my early years, maybe year 2 to year 5. I had supernova elite volume every year. So I was kind of a little bit burnt out from the overall grinding, but also I kind of climbed my mountain in my game, and I got to the higher stakes. I achieved the kind of financial outcomes I wanted to, and there wasn't anything really left for me to get a challenge from and to progress. And like Runchuks touched on with his own journey, kind of having that progression and growing as a person through what you're doing is so important. And if I look at like my highest value as a person, it's always growing and taking on challenges that allow me to expand and grow. So for poker, it was the perfect vehicle through my 20s to do that. And then towards the end of my career, I started to get that same feeling from coaching, and I started to see, actually, I could just see clearly in my head that I should be transitioning into something else that's going to kind of be that next challenge and that next avenue of growth for me. So yeah, it was kind of a natural part of ways in terms of I'd achieve what I wanted to from poker, but also I wanted another avenue to grow and to learn, and coaching was already becoming that role towards the end of my career, and it became a natural kind of fit for me to go full on with that.
Oh, okay, nice.
And I also like
It feels like.
Yeah, go ahead, Toby.
Oh, go ahead. No, it's fine.
Okay, so yeah, because what I like about this story as well, that you're seeking the challenge and you're transitioning for those reasons. I like that you're transitioning into mindset and poker performance coaching, right? As opposed to what a lot of other coaches are doing is when they get tired of the game and when they don't see the challenge anymore, they would go into quote unquote coaching the game.
Yeah.
Right. Which to me is ridiculous, because if you don't play the game at the highest level, what are you talking about? Like, who are you fooling? Your concepts of 2 years, like poker is so dynamic. It changes all the time. So just because you were winning some 4 years ago doesn't mean shit. Let's put it this way.
Yeah.
Whereas performance and mindset and all of these things, these are timeless. Once you arrive at the best practices for the specific business, right, which is very specific, because we don't have bosses, we don't have schedules that are forced upon us. We don't. It's kind of a lot of freedom. So a lot of freedom for choosing what you want to do, which very often leads to doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Right. So it's great that you transitioned into this topic, and I believe that you definitely, with your journey, with several years of, was it 4 or 5 years of Supernova Elite?
I think the 4 years I hit Supernova Elite volume.
4 years of Supernova Elite. That's hard work. I mean, I did 1 year and I learned so much from that experience, because that 1 year was a kind of foundational year for me for making my own routines, which I still use up to this day. A lot of the things that I had to forcefully develop for myself in terms of improving how I approach the game because of, having to achieve that volume. These really changed my full approach on how I actually view the performance and how I deal with the mindset issues and all of these things. So I can only imagine what 4 years of doing this does to you, right? Because you constantly have to keep improving, because it's not good enough to just do Supernova Elite and have no life, right? Clearly you had life for 4 years, otherwise you wouldn't be here now, right? So I think
I say that the first year for me was very challenging. Like if I look at my decision, so 2013 was the year I hit Supernova Elite for the first time, and I had to play 66,000 heads up sit and goes in my format, and there wasn't that much action to get that volume in, so I had to kind of force the action and cause a lot of rank battles, which was kind of not happening at the time. But also I committed to the challenge very early in the year. I don't know why I got excited by April or May. And I said to my friends and everyone around me, I'm going to hit Supernova Elite this year. I'm on track for it. I'm committed 100%. And then over the summer months, my volume tailed off. I was busy over the summer a bit, and the action on PokerStars was just less. And I got to September, and I had like the biggest mountain to climb in terms of volume. And I was like, oh, well, I'm committed now. I've kind of told everyone I want to do it. I'm really up for the challenge. And yeah, September through till Christmas that year was really almost broke me. Like that's when I achieved the objective. I got to Supernova Elite on like the 30th of December, at like midnight. I think the day before New Year's Eve, I got there like 12 hours unexpected. But yeah, I worked really, really hard, and I had to say no to everything in my life at that time. And it got me to question like kind of the parallels between going towards a goal and then going towards a goal at all costs. And I think that's kind of that first year of doing it, I realized, okay, I've done something wrong here, because I basically went too all in with the volume, and my life balance sucked, especially November, December. I was basically not a good person to be around. You didn't see me much. But after that, I figured out what I need to do to get that balance right. I was playing higher stakes the following year, so it became a lot easier to kind of achieve that same Supernova Elite objective. But yeah, I think like obviously when you're going through life, you haven't got it all figured out, and you sometimes like go for one goal and you kind of have success at that, but fail at another one. And for me, on my poker journey was a lot of that. It was having some successes and failing something else, and then trying to piece together what I'm trying to get from this whole poker journey. And yeah, I think the Supernova Elite the quest. Although I think probably the first year I shouldn't have really went for it, because I do think I pushed myself a little bit too hard and kind of compromised a few things that I wouldn't necessarily compromise now. But yeah, overall the experience of learning how to get the most out of yourself still been quite valuable.
Right. Well, it's super interesting that, because I'm thinking back to my only year of Supernova Elite. And it was quite a bit of a different experience for me, because I basically set out to do Supernova Elite in December the year before. So I made a plan, okay, next year I'm going Supernova Elite, which was a weird decision, because at the time I was one of the biggest winners on Winamax and some other sites. I was playing a lot of sites, game selecting a lot. So I basically decided to, okay, I'm going to stop all that. I'm just going to play on PokerStars, which I didn't even like to play on. And yeah, I'm just going to go for it. And so December, I spent the whole December of making my plans on, okay, what's the schedule like? I'm doing a lot of calculations. How many hours do I need to do on average so that, the year is not packed with crazy commitments, that I can actually enjoy life still. And it sort of worked out, almost worked out. Because, in that year, I still had a decent vacation. I had like about 3 weeks of vacation. I managed to do my motorcycle license. I managed to do a few other things. I did a few travels, a few trips. But still, I fell into the trap what everybody falls into. December was pretty fucking horrible, because you realize like, oh my God, I have to play. And for me, the worst part and the best part, maybe the worst part at the time, but long term, probably a thing that really taught me a lot about myself and how to approach the game was that towards the end of the year, I hit this super sick downswing. I was going like at some point, I think it was like 120 buy-ins under EV. And yet I had to keep playing like about 8 hours a day, every day, and come back the next day. And just every day you keep losing and your graph and you feel so miserable. And I really struggled emotionally through that period because at some points, you felt like this is horrible. I can't do anything about it, but I have to come back the next day. I can't afford to take a break. It's almost the end of the year. I have to keep pushing. It's stupid to bail out now. And from that experience, I definitely came out stronger in terms of I realized, what are the priorities? What should I be focusing on when I'm actually playing? How to deal with variance, how to deal with all these things. And I think in general, poker players, as any other professional person or any human being, really, we learn the most when we're pushed out of our comfort zone. Right? Because then we have to adapt to the new environment. We have to figure things out. It's so easy to just stagnate in your, easy sort of setup game that you play like a couple hours a day, you have no stress, etc. It's so easy to just hit the plateau and just stay there and never improve and never feel the need to improve because you don't see anything wrong with your game, with your life, etc. So, challenges like this, like the Supernova Elite, I think it pushed a lot of people out of their comfort zone big time and allowed them to improve their game.
So do you think it was worth it in hindsight?
Well, let's start with Adam. Adam, was it worth it for you?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say 100% it allowed me to, kind of what Runchuks said as well about learning to show up on bad days. I think if I remember rightly, I had to play 58 days of the last 60, no matter what. And that was like a half day on Christmas Day I had off. There was something on December the 7th or something I couldn't be grinding for. And results were kind of volatile because when you're playing such high volume, you're not studying as much, you're not recovering between sessions as much. So you're not playing your best poker during that patch of time. And just having to show up day after day, it allowed me to desensitize from the results side of stuff and just be professional and show up. And also, that was probably the first time I started saying no to my friends as well. During that actual end part of the Supernova journey, I was back in England just for over the last 7 years. I've basically been in England for 6 months. But the end of the Supernova Elite journey that year, I was in England and all my friends were doing all sorts of stuff over Christmas time. And I was just the guy saying no, 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 which isn't my personality. But it showed me when you have a goal in mind, you're prioritizing stuff, you can be one-track minded and actually make decisions based on what you want to do rather than what everyone around you wants to do. So overall 100% a win, although there was probably 4 or 5 weeks where it was very stressful in terms of thinking, am I going to just get off the line in time?
Right. Interesting. For me, it was also very, I think it was worth it in the end, perhaps not for the reasons that I thought it's going to be worth it. I thought the monetary wise, money wise, it's going to be way more interesting. But if you think about it, the amount of work you have to invest in it, if you game select, etc., DAV is actually higher in, and it's not necessarily such a huge financial gain. It was great, it was over 100,000 in Rakeback. That's all cool, but it's Rakeback. It's not free money. It's not a gift. It's actually something you deserve to get, something you grind out. But it was definitely worth it in a way that, after that year, I never did the same volume ever again because I realized this is not for me. This is bullshit. I don't like it at all. But it did allow me to organize my work much better. And by work, I mean also taking up other things apart from just poker, having a more balanced life around all these things. Because even when I was doing the Supernova Elite, I still managed to... If I remember, I remember it was basically every day before lunch, I would already finish 6 hours of playing. So before lunch, I'm already done 6 hours. So it showed me that, basically, if I don't even play a single hour after lunch, if I just get busy with life, I'm still fine. I did 6 hours.
Yeah.
Would change the whole perspective, because before that Supernova Elite year, I would very often just be one of those guys who has like a zombie kind of lifestyle of playing the whole night, then sleeping the whole day, and then repeat, and then playing in consistent times of the day, in consistent volumes. You know, sometimes you're tired, and mostly you're tired, right? Whereas with the Supernova Elite challenge, I had such a structured day where I absolutely knew that, well, I'm going to sleep early, I'm waking up early, and I'm saying no to these commitments, those commitments, because I'm a professional. I'm doing this. Whereas before, it never came up in my mind. Like, people would say, hey, do you want to go and, whatever, have a nice dinner tonight? It's like, yeah, sure. Tomorrow, yeah, sure. The day after, yeah, any day, really. Because as if I don't have a job, right? It kind of put things in perspective, and for that alone, it was worth it for me, because, otherwise, because like I said, if you're not out of your comfort zone, if you don't have to adapt to the new environment, you're never actually finding these ways, unless you have, let's say, a mindset coach or a performance coach who comes in and says, well, listen, what you're doing is going to hurt you in the long run. You're not going to achieve your peak performance. You're not going to achieve your peak goals because you're so unstructured. You need this and that and that and that, But without external help, how are you ever going to arrive at these conclusions?
Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of poker players kind of get into poker, like obviously when they're quite young, like very low commitments in terms of lifestyle and costs. And they almost like build all these bad habits of like using the freedom of being a poker player to do what you said, like go to restaurants when you want, go to bed when you want, and kind of have no discipline and routine. And I think that's kind of the normal. Only when you've got a challenge, you have to push yourself, or like you said, you get some external help, do you start to say, wait a second, this is not the optimal way to live. This is not the optimal way to achieve my poker success. It's not the optimal way to create the lifestyle that I want. And sometimes taking on a challenge that kind of forces your hand a little bit is what you need to kind of learn those harsh lessons that, okay, there's better ways to go about it, and you should, look after yourself better.
Right. And by the way, guys, in the chat, we see you. We know you're here. We appreciate you. And because, Adam, there's a couple guys basically saying, what's up? And they're looking forward to this one. And we have...
That's a V-Card Killer. That's Alan. Hi, Alan. Welcome. Let me know any questions I can answer for you. And Captain, that's Tom. Hey, Tom.
Hey.
Awesome. To my guys, my coach. Yeah,
awesome. So yeah, basically anybody, you can just ask questions and we're going to address them. We might not address them immediately, but we're definitely reading the chat. We're definitely going to catch up with this. Even the no Galfond challenge question from GDI, we're going to talk about that at some point. I don't want to go into that right now because I might just go on a big rant, but I want to make it more about Adam and performance and mindset. And all right, so
from my perspective, it's really interesting because I was never into this supernova lead, because to me it felt like it's not really efficient, because back at that time, I just bum hunted heads up, and thinking back, I regret not putting in the work because it was so easy back then, and I could have done way more and earned more money. But so my question to you guys is, do you think with the same approach and the same amount of hands you played and the same structure, do you think you would have won more on other sides?
I think personally I could have probably made around the same on mine, because I think I was playing heads up sit and goes on PokerStars. Most of the action, like probably 80 to 90% of the volume I was getting was on PokerStars at the time. I'd say my win rate dropped, especially in the last months. And if I had to focus on a bit more game selection, playing fresh, playing less hours, I calculated, I think at the time I'd have made maybe, I think it was very much the same. It was very, very close to the same, because I was actually really disappointed, because when I first took on the challenge, I thought it was going to be super lucrative. I thought, 100K Rakeback plus all your profits is going to be super cool. And then when I actually stopped and calculated, especially the last few months when my win rate dropped off, I was like, wait a second, I could have probably made about the same. And that was my rough calc at the time. So yeah, in terms of short-term cycle, in profit wise, it would have been somewhat similar for me personally.
Well, I think for me, it would have been, and it's great that Adam mentions the short-term and the long-term view of this, because short-term, I suppose it would have been similar as well for me. And long-term, I'm actually not sure, because a lot of the things that I changed in my approach to poker were due to the Supernova Elite experience, right? So it enabled me to become a better player, a better professional. But definitely just doing what Toby said of, game selecting smarter. And to me, probably it would have been the difference that I would have made, play less tables and play higher stakes, right? Because with the Supernova Elite, I was just stuck playing 8 tables of Zoom. I had to play 8 tables of PLO 500, and so 4 tables PLO 500 and 4 tables PLO 200. Not the best games, especially if you have 8 of those Zoom tables. You can't really focus. I mean, it's a miracle that I even had a win rate. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do it now because there's not enough time for the decisions. And I really felt like the beginning of the year, I was actually making a lot of money from the actual win rate, and towards the end of the year the win rate really dropped off, and the factors were, of course, just kind of burning out and just getting tired and sick of all that thing. But also I just think my game stagnated so much because I had no time to really work on it, right? So of course in the beginning of the year I came into this challenge as a pretty well prepared winning player at that stage, and then you basically remain hopefully at the same level for the whole year. I probably even dropped off in terms of my knowledge and understanding of the game towards the end, because I mean that's what playing 600 700 hands an hour of PLO does to your brain. You just or even more, it was like 800 hands per hour, something like that, something ridiculous. I wouldn't attempt it again.
Do you think it would be still possible to do that with a decent win rate nowadays?
Well, it depends what we call a decent win rate. It's definitely, if we are looking at the hourly win rate, definitely still doable today, right? Because the Zoom pools are still pretty unimaginative most of the time, I would say. So you can get away with really basic strategy. Whether I would want to do it or whether I would recommend anybody to do it, I actually wouldn't, because it's a sure way of getting bored of the game, because you're not actually challenging yourself. For most people who are successful, from the people that I know, the challenge of improvement, that's one of the key motivating factors in this whole thing. If you're clicking buttons on countless tables, you're not really improving.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, 800 hands an hour for like 8 hours a day. That's just incredible.
Yeah.
I think I couldn't do that. I mean, of course, I could do that for a month or so, but honestly, you gained a lot of respect here. I think that's really incredible.
Right, but
Yes,
I did it for 1 year. Adam did it for 4 years. Of course, different thing, sit and goes and just playing the Zoom, completely different animals. But after doing the Supernova Elite, I have huge respect for anybody who did it. Anybody who did it who still plays poker or still is in the business in one way or another. Because there's a lot of people who did it and just burned out and then dropped off the map. One of my friends actually also did the Supernova Elite and then basically just lost all motivation and joy of life, to be honest, for the next year, and just decided that fuck it, I'm just gonna change career. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. Is that danger? It is a very demanding thing to do, and to be honest, when I finished my Supernova Elite, I was like, God, am I going to continue my poker career like this? I had a few weeks off just to not think about poker at all, and then recharge myself and go, right, if I continue with poker, I'm doing it a different way. And although I hit Supernova Elite again the next year, it was much less stressed. I was playing slightly higher stakes, so the demands were less, and I paced myself a lot better. So yeah, I can see why going for the supernova elite could burn people out. And yeah, it's definitely not for everyone. It's not for the majority, I would say.
All right. So guys, how about we switch from discussing supernova elite, which is not possible anymore, not doable. I mean, I suppose on party poker, do they have something similar? I mean, some sites have something similar, but it's doesn't have the same appeal, doesn't have the same romanticism about it anymore. So for our viewers, right, for let's say somebody who wants to play, well, let's put it in a 4-hour per day range for like 6 days a week, and they want to play reasonable amount of tables, what would be your advices in terms of maximizing the? Well, let's just forget about the maximizing. What are your advices to begin with, and then we'll dig in deeper into it.
I say pick a routine. So a lot of players would go for that, say 4 hours for 6 days, and they would just play whenever. Sometimes they play late, sometimes playing early, and they would basically just occupy a lot of their days thinking around when they're going to play those 4 hours. So I just say lock in a slot, choose game select wisely, whether it's the most profitable hours to play or whether it's the best for your life balance. Ideally a combination of both, but you can sacrifice either of those if you want to go more for the nighttime and play higher profitability hours, or you want to go more life balance to have better kind of quality of life with kind of life balance. Doesn't really matter to me, whichever you prefer. But yeah, I say pick a routine and stick to that. Don't let things slide too much. And I'd say let the people around you know that you're working those hours. I think a lot of people make the mistake of being too flexible as poker players, and they're like, they even say, I'm just playing poker. I would always say I'm working, because that's what it was for me. I was working to make a living. So I'd say let the people around you know I'm playing poker these days, these hours. Be very strict with that. It sounds like a small decision to be strict with that, because why would you? You're a poker player to be flexible. But I think creating too much flexibility in the system of your life creates more harm than good. You'll generally procrastinate. You'll waste 2-3 hours thinking about getting started. Before you know it, a 4-hour grind's taking you 8-9 hours. I've worked with people their goal is get 4 or 5 hours in, and their whole day is taken up by those 4 or 5 hours. And I'm like, why is that? It's because they procrastinate getting started. So yeah, I'd say getting that routine in place and yeah, optimizing your routines around it and trying to create a lifestyle as well with poker. I think you should always be thinking, okay, what am I trying to get from poker? What's the outcomes and objectives I'm going for? And what's the life I'm trying to create, both in the short term and the long term? And I think having a routine around poker and then having a lifestyle, your life on the side of that, is the optimal way to go. So yeah, I think that would be the way I'd approach that one situation.
I really like that advice. I can totally relate to how important the routine is. It's absolute key. And also what you said about just basically letting people know that you work those hours. And first of all, tell yourself that you work those hours. Otherwise, being way too flexible is just going to hurt you in so many ways, you know. And also what you mentioned about you don't have to make the decision when are those 4 hours when you're playing. You know those hours. There should be part of your routine. You should be just there. And by the way, nobody has so far mentioned anything in the chat about it, but I was just looking at the text that I wrote under you, which is your name, and mindset and performance coach. And I realized I misspelled mindset and I misspelled performance. So, sorry guys. At least I'm consistent of not just misspelled one word. I just butchered the whole fucking thing. So sorry about that. I actually know how it happened, but yeah, I'm not gonna go into it. No excuses. I'm slightly ashamed of myself here, and but we'll stick to this. I'm not gonna change it on purpose. And it's just I'm gonna learn from this experience. It's gonna be embarrassing for me. So anyway, yeah, routine
by the way, guys,
is a great thing.
Questions.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah. So let's go. Let's dig into some of the questions. Well, I see more than questions. I just see a lot of people just saying hi to Adam, and Serna seems to be asking if he or she can ask a question. You definitely can. So a lot of people saying hello.
Saturn's asking, Adam, do you believe that people have limited roof in mindset living? So should we dig into that one?
Sure, let's go.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I'm guessing you mean just a mindset level. It looks like, yeah, mindset leveling. So is there a ceiling with people's mindsets? I'd say there can be to some degree. So a simple way to look at it is some people have a fixed mindset and some people have a growth mindset. So this is a growth mindset, somebody who is always learning, always improving. If someone criticizes them, they'll take that on board and try to learn and get better. And they're always looking for knowledge and ways to improve. So as a poker player, you really want a growth mindset to be progressing. There is some people who have a fixed mindset, and a fixed mindset is very different, where people believe their talents are very innate. They believe that their abilities are somewhat capped, either at birth or through their childhood. They end up thinking, I'm not good enough, no, I can learn to get better. And if you were to criticize them or tell them how to improve, they would take that as a kind of personal kind of dig at themselves. So if you're an extreme end of a fixed mindset, which I'm guessing none of you guys are because you've chose to attend a podcast like this where you're basically going to be learning and improving and growing, you will have troubles with changing the narrative of your life unless you put a lot of work in. But if you're not, if you've got somewhat of a growth mindset, you see the world as progressive, you are always trying to improve, you think you can learn the skill sets needed, then you can. And mindset's very interesting because if you think you can't, if you think you are capped, then you become capped. So like it kind of plays out as a self-fulfilling prophecy. But yeah, if you've got a growth mindset, there's always room for improvements. So in terms of ceiling, I would say there's not really a ceiling at all with mindsets. It's something that you're always progressing with. Even when you feel like you've got everything figured out, you'll progress over time, like 6 months, a year down the line, and you'll look back and go, oh, wait a second, I improved a lot in my mindset over that period of time. So I don't think people have limits at all. I think it's all to do with how much work you're willing to put in, how much mindset's quite an interesting one because you've got to be quite brave to go down the mindset route where you've got to almost like let go of some of your identity, let go of some of the pre-held beliefs that you've held onto for a long time and not get defensive about it and look for new ways to see situations. And the way I look at mindset, it's all about perspective. Like most situations in life are very neutral and we choose to label them good or bad. And we choose to create a narrative around a situation that becomes the situation itself. So let's say you're on a downswing at poker, the worst downswing of your poker career. You could look at that and go, oh my God, life's horrible. Like I just can't win. I'm just losing all the time. This is such a bad situation. Or on the flip side, you could completely have the same situation and flip it around to the positive angle. You could be like, oh, results aren't going good, but I'm playing good. I'm learning. I'm growing. I'm showing up every day. Even when I'm losing, I'm going to give myself a pat on the back for being resilient during this time. During challenges and discomfort situations, this is where most growth happens. So I must be growing quite a lot, even though it may not feel like it. And all of a sudden, it's the same stimulus, the same situation, but you've taken the positive angle. So yeah, I think the mindset limits are, I don't think many people have a clear roof unless you're extreme on the fixed mindset scale. And yeah, everyone can be improving. It's something that you've got to be working on a consistent basis.
Right. Great. I really like what you're saying. Don't even want to add anything because, I just want people to really appreciate this advice.
Oh.
Okay, I'm gonna add something. I changed my mind.
Couldn't wait.
Because like I find it very interesting what you said about choosing to flip your view on a situation like a downswing, for example. And to a lot of people, I imagine it would sound like it's a lot of this kind of hoo-ha thing of you choose how to view things, be positive, be optimistic, etc., etc. But it's more than that, because if you are with this negative mindset of just basically dwelling upon your losses and saying, well, I'm so unlucky and this is just so unfair, etc., etc., you're just reinforcing these negative emotions every time you keep playing, right? So it's not helpful at all. It's a very counterproductive approach to dealing with your downswings because it's just going to spiral you into this void which you can't get out, because every time you're going to be reinforcing the idea of you are being an unlucky poker player. Let's say when you have a chance to just get it in and flip, instead of playing poker till the river, you would just be like very happy to just get it in on the flop and see what happens. Because what happens is if you lose, you just reinforce the belief that, oh, I'm so unlucky. And it's fine for you because you're like, yeah, I know I'm so unlucky. And that's the proof. So you're sort of encouraging yourself to do that, right? And when you win, there's no positive emotion from there anyway, because well, I'm still unlucky. I'm sure I'm going to lose the next 3 ones, right? It's just such a bad place to be in mentally. So flipping it around definitely makes sense if your goal is actually to get out of this situation, if your goal is to continue. If you just want to lie down and whine and wait for somebody to pat you on the back, sure, go ahead and focus on the negative. But instead, and what we talk about on almost every episode of this this podcast is be process oriented. Because like you said, you just basically, if you are in the downswing, you focus on the things that you are doing right, or things that you are supposed to be doing. Focus on your game. Focus on the decisions you were making. The results are secondary. The results are out of your control. What is something that you totally control is what kind of decisions were you making. And it's not only the decisions at the poker table, as in bet, fold, or call. It's also, when do I play? What time of the day I play? How many hours do I play? When do I quit? And there's also factors of how I feel on that specific day. Am I fresh? Did I get enough sleep? Because it's way too easy to forget about these things. Because even, some of the best players who are just absolute wizards when it comes to analyzing hands and, just being like this GTO kind of, let's stick to the wizard analogy, right? How many times do you see these guys just, play super tired after a long night out or, some bullshit like this, and they just dump like 20, 30 buy-ins needlessly. And sure, they're going to get them back because they're really good. But why in the first place did you dump that money? And it happens to absolutely everyone. And the problem here is the life decision. Is this decision of, well, I'm going to play poker. Well, no, you're supposed to not play poker on that day. You're just a complete wreck. You're tired, you're hangover or something like that. Don't play poker. That's going to be the best TV decision you're going to make that day, period. It doesn't matter how big of a genius you are. You shouldn't be playing. Simple.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that comes down to being a professional at what you do and having the approach of poker being a profession that you take seriously. And the more you do take it seriously, the less you kind of make those one-off decisions that are spontaneous in the moment, which are kind of negative EV, either in that moment or long term. And yeah, I think the more players can kind of cultivate a mindset around respecting what they do and taking it seriously, they can kind of eradicate some of those spontaneous natures of their personality.
Right. So let's go with the chat. Let's keep trying to catch up a bit, and we'll see where it leads us.
So what is the next big thing for you, Adam?
Oh, yeah, Chris Yog. Yeah, for me at the moment, I'm doing a lot of coaching and I'm working with a lot of stables at the moment. And I'm actually working on a very exciting new mindset program. It's going to be called Elite Poker Mindset. I'm putting all my years of experience into this program, trying to make it the best possible I can. The black screen behind me is kind of there because of the modules I'm shooting at the moment. So yeah, really excited to launch that. It should be ready early January. And yeah, it's a program on enhancing your mindset and everything I've learned from my coaching and working with players on creating an optimal mindset to perform in poker. And I'm going to cover some angles which I haven't seen covered before in the poker world. And going deep onto belief systems, values, and creating principles and operating systems for handling poker situations and cultivating a mindset that can deal with anything that poker throws at you and operate at a high level. So yeah, really excited for that. In terms of other things that's on my agenda, continue to grow my YouTube channel as a kind of side project. And yeah, just becoming a better coach, better person, and yeah, optimizing my life here in Bali at the same time. So yeah, kind of those are the main things that are on the agenda for me at the moment.
Awesome. And we're definitely going to put up the links in the description. Well, not on Twitch, but whenever we post on YouTube, because this recording is going to be in full on YouTube. So I'm going to make sure that we have all the links to all of your sites wherever people can reach you, your YouTube channel, and anything else you want to share with people. And it does sound like an exciting project, and it's a big one as well, right? How long has it been in the working? Like how long are you working on it for?
Yeah, I've been working like about a month on it. The idea was like a lot longer, but for me, I've done a lot of coaching over the last few years, and for me, I've improved a lot as a coach in the way I teach people, and I've come with a lot of ideas that I haven't been able to conceptualize to the level I want yet. So this program's my kind of project to get everything together. So all in all, it's going to take probably over 100 hours, I'd say, of actual time invested to get it to the level I want it to be at. So yeah, it's fun. I think when you're trying to create something from a authentic place with the kind of end service in mind to others, I think it kind of motivates you to put the work in. And yeah, I think one of the biggest things I enjoy at the moment is trying to create things and trying to help people to get to the next level in their life, but also to create something that's valuable that other people can use. So yeah, it's a big project, but it's very exciting at the same time.
Awesome. Sounds good.
That sounds great.
We have a question about how to deal with procrastination leading to starting the session.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose we kind of addressed it already from one perspective, what you mentioned about the routines, that you take out the decision of when do you play out of the equation, because when you play, you have basically an appointment with yourself. That's the time of the day I'm playing, so why am I not playing? Let's go playing. All right, it kind of eliminates the procrastination, at least for myself. That's always the case. I don't have to make the decision of should I play now or should I do what. I just basically I know. Anything else that comes to mind on this topic?
Yeah, so I agree. That's 90% of the problem is not having a clear start time that you respect, not that you put there for other people, but that you're a professional, you've created a schedule for yourself, and you're going to get started at a set time and respecting yourself to do that. But on the other side, there is things that distract us. So when it comes to procrastination, it's generally internal distractions. Either you feel bored, you don't feel like playing, or external distractions where notification on your phone, you're on YouTube, someone's speaking to you. So you've got to think about your environment and what leads you to procrastinate. Is it that you're getting internally distracted by your own feelings, or is it external? And with procrastination feeds on indecision. It feeds on those moments of waiting around. So what I like to do with myself and the clients I work with is create little systems that allow them to get started. So often we don't feel motivated to do a task until we begin doing the task. It's a very interesting kind of myth about motivation that when you're motivated, you do stuff. And very often we get motivated after we start. So your job as a poker player, in this instance of procrastination, is just to get started. So what you can do is literally create a minimum requirement where literally you can just go, instead of doing a 5-hour session, which is a bit overwhelming for the brain, you may procrastinate on that. But you know what? I'm going to start regular lobbies for 10 minutes. I'm going to start regular lobbies for 10 minutes. If I don't want to play after that, I'll end my session and that's it. I'm fine with that. And realize that by giving the brain an easy solution to get started, you've solved the problem for the most part, because once you get going, you're 10 minutes into your session, you've overcome the procrastination bug, and it's easy to stay in motion. Things in motion stay in motion. So probably 99 times out of 100, you'd continue a session longer. So yeah, try and find a quick way to get past the procrastination. Maybe you're overthinking the task in hand. Maybe you're getting distracted by things in your environment. If you are, you've got to control your environment better. And yeah, I'd say getting started is the key to that. So find a way to get started quickly.
Well, that's really good. I like it. I like it a lot. Getting started absolutely can relate to that. And what you said about the environment, I think it's worth emphasizing that it's super important. And how many times I've seen people having their phone buzzing all the time when they're playing, or all sorts of other notifications. It's just bad. You committed to playing poker. You're supposed to know these are the hours that I'm at work. So make sure there's no distractions, no external stimulus that can actually distract you from the game. And it's so easy to do. Just put the phone in the other room. Just don't switch to Facebook. Just don't have your browser open unless you're listening to our podcast, which is actually also slightly distracting, but at least it's going to, be in the long run probably good for you.
Yeah, and there's also like you can use apps to help you with this process as well. So I would say the phone one's amazing. Like, don't have your phone on you. If you do, airplane mode at the very best, but generally don't have it in the office when you're grinding. And then just think, okay, where do you waste the most time? Which website is it? Which apps is it? Which social media platforms? And you can take steps on almost all of those to eradicate wasted time. You can use apps like Stay Focused, where you can just go onto stayfocused.com, type in the websites you don't want to go on for the time you're grinding, and stop yourself accessing them. So if you try to access them during your grind, it would just say permission not granted, and you wouldn't be able to go against your best wishes. So that's like called making a pre-commitment. Or you could, you could basically eradicate those social media platforms as well. So for example, I've got something called Newsfeed Eradicator for Facebook. So if I go on Facebook on my desktop, there's no news feed. It just comes up with a motivational quote, which dramatically decreases the time I spend on that platform. Just little things. YouTube as well is a thing called DF Tube, I think it's called, where basically it will remove all the suggested videos down the side of the screen. So you can take steps to stop you going against your best wishes and stop having to use all your willpower. I know how addictive it can be just to click on your favorite website, to watch your favorite YouTube stuff. So you've got to like play around with it and figure out how you can kind of block yourself from doing the things that are impulsive to you. There's lots of apps you can use these days to make your life easier and make pre-commitments in advance, so that in the moment you're not dragged around by your desires to seek some instant gratification.
I think that's great advice. And also, I have the app called Stay Focused, and it just helps me tremendously. Because, for me, it's always important to have a system in place that can fail. Because it's just so much easier. You can't access the site, so you won't go there.
Yeah.
It's not, it's not about you. It's not that you have to be, not that you have to force yourself to not do it,
And this is the thing, people like try to use willpower too often. I think willpower is great to have, but it should be a very limited resource, and we shouldn't challenge ourselves to use it when we don't need to. Let's say, for example, you're trying to lose weight and your fridge is full of donuts, cakes, chocolate and stuff, and you're trying to lose weight. So you're going to use a lot of willpower to not open that fridge and eat the food. So that's one way of doing it. Use willpower and just go, don't eat the food. On the flip side, just don't put the food in your way. Like, do not buy the unhealthy food. When you open the fridge, there's only healthy options. You've now controlled your environment enough that it makes it easier for you to continue with the desired behavior. So decide on the desired behavior you want and make it easy to do the desired behavior and make it hard to do the negative one. So with the app Stay Focused, exactly what he said, you need to decide in advance what websites you can use at what times, or which ones you can't use during certain blocks of time, and it stops you having to use willpower. When your willpower fails in the moment, you're still protected. And I think that's a really important one. I think a lot of people try to overuse willpower. I class myself as having quite high willpower, but I know how limited that is. If I put myself in distracting environments, I will come unstuck so often. So I think that's something to bear in mind on willpower and controlling the environment.
Yeah, I think I totally agree. And it's so important also in other areas of your life. Even if you talk about workouts, it's always easier if you have a club, if you're a part of a club and you don't have to do it yourself, if you don't have to create your workout routine, and, if you don't need willpower, you just have to show up. And also, even when you talk about nutrition and food, it's always important to not buy all the stuff when you're hungry. If you go to the supermarket, or, personally, I just order my food whenever I can. So, they deliver it to me at the same time every week. But it even makes it easier if you go to the supermarket when you're not hungry and only buy healthy stuff, then there's not going to be a problem, because as you mentioned, as you said, you can't eat the bad stuff.
It's make your life easy, simplify.
Right. And also, because I really love what you were saying about removing these cues, or however I think cues is the word from the book Atomic Habits, which actually has a lot of the ideas that you were talking about. And great book, by the way, guys. Do read it if you get a chance. But if somebody doesn't want to go through the lengths of setting up all the software for limiting their social media, etc., I find that a very simple advice that is very usable, just open another user account on your computer. A user account that is poker only, and don't have your poker client software on the other account. So there's, or better yet, I mean, but some people can't afford to have multiple computers for, one for leisure, one for browsing, well, like browsing and leisure, and one for work. But if you can, do have separate workstations. But if you can't, at least have a separate account, so that when hey, this is the time when I'm at work. So go to work, open your working account, which only has poker and, your hold'em manager, or whatever you're using. And that's it. And there's no distractions. And don't put any, icons on the desktop, something easy to click like your browser. You don't need your browser when you're playing. Unless you're listening to this podcast, obviously. But listen on your phone or something. I mean, really, just separate your working environments. Because another thing that the same book, the Atomic Habits, is talking about, and I love this idea, is even if your office space or your living space is really small, doesn't mean you can't structure your life in such a way that, for example, at your desk, there's work only. On your chair, there's reading only. On your slightly less comfortable chair, there's social media only, So, make sure that you separate your life, because otherwise, and I think that's something that a lot of poker players are struggling. Most of us are working from home. So to separate this work, home, fun thing is not easy. It's not going to happen on its own. You have to actually do it yourself. Your working desk is supposed to be your working desk. It's not the desk where you can also occasionally watch movies and do some other bullshit, because then it all mixes together. You don't have this boundary between one thing and the other.
Yeah, I think it's a challenge for poker players to create that. Like you said, it doesn't happen by chance. If you don't take the steps needed, you've got this very mixed environment where it's like, oh, I work from here. This is where I get my free time and go on YouTube and socialize. This is also where I live, so it's my free time. This is where I eat from, the same location. You've got this very mixed environment, which what it does is it basically doesn't allow the brain to know what's expected. So let's say you did what Runchuks said there, and you compartmentalize your life. So you've got a workstation, which is only for work. You've got a chill station where you relax. What happens is when you sit down in that station, your brain's naturally thinking of work, not other things. And that's a really big thing going forward, to not be thinking, should I work? Am I distracted? It allows you to focus on what you're doing. So a lot of writers use this strategy. They have kind of a writing laptop or writing station, and they only ever sit in the chair on that laptop or on that station when they're writing. And that allows the mind to go, oh, when I sit here, the environment triggers you to think about writing. And if you can do that with poker and trigger yourself to have a workstation that's only for work, and if that just means switching your user account to your poker user account, it really does help a lot. And yeah, I'd be very, I think there's so many things you can do on this avenue. But yeah, I think thinking about how you spend your time in your environments and trying to separate it, have different environments for different things, and especially protecting the work environment and have that separate, super plus EV going forward.
Awesome. I think we covered this procrastination question and went beyond it. Even the next question on the list is scary, because it's a question of, well, first of all, it's for all three of us. And the question is, if your story ends in 15 minutes, what would be a title of it, and like one to 3 sentence description? It's a tough one. I mean, at least I feel it's a tough one. So who wants to go first?
I can jump in. I'm probably going to answer in 25 sentences, but
right.
The 1 to 3 for your whole life's a bit of a tough one. All right. Well, let me look at the requirements here. Well, the title's so tough. All right. All right. I don't know the title exactly. I'll come back to that. But I'd like the narrative to be, I was somebody who lived life on their own terms, tried to do what he wanted with his life. I gave more than I took in terms of the people I was around. I had good relationships, good friendships, and give slightly more than I took in life in general. and I was a fun person to be around, and I enjoyed the experience of life. I didn't take it for granted, and I lived it the way I wanted to. The story of that title would probably be, I can't get a title. I'll come back to the title because that's so hard to narrow it down to like 3 words.
Wow. It's gonna be really hard to follow after you in this regard, because it's beautiful. It was actually like about 3 sentences, and it summarizes a nice life story, and it shows that you're somebody who actually knows what you're doing, and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is great. Toby, you want to go next? Or no?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, the question is really not easy. I think my life so far is all about improvement and getting better, and also about making a lot of different experiences. I think, looking back, I mean, I did so much. I've seen so many different countries. I went everywhere, and I think that's what's really important to me: the improvement part, but also seeing different things and just always see something new and experience something new.
Nice.
Yeah. But if I need a title is really hard.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
I would call it.
We need a drum roll for this one.
Yeah.
Okay, it's actually even harder than I thought.
Yeah.
I think I need a second. I'll
All
let
right.
you go first.
All right, so I'll go with my answer. I love the question. It's a really tricky one. Haven't thought about a thing like this before. Well, I suppose in a few sentences, the description of the story would be that I've tried and I'm trying to perfect the learning process and an improvement process, constant growth as a person and professionally and personally. And it happens to be around poker for me. If it wasn't around poker, it would be about something else. I'm really passionate about learning and improving the way I'm learning. And poker just gives this beautiful avenue of testing your skill against other opposition from the comfort of your home, which happens to be great. I guess the title, I would just put, I haven't finished yet, something like that. That would be my title.
Nice. Good job. Tough question, that one, but I like it. Really interesting. I don't think any of us have ever thought about trying to summarize our lives into a few sentences, but it's a good thought exercise.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I also feel like it makes you think about what you want to achieve and what you want to do.
Maybe some of you guys in the chat could try and answer that question as well. That'd be interesting.
That would be super interesting. Yeah. Let's do this.
Tackle that one, guys, in the chat. If your story ends in 15 minutes, what will be the title of it? And 1 to 3 sentences description. You guys got some time to think about it, so let us know in the chat.
Absolutely. I'm super looking forward to this. All right. So the next question is a mindset question. So Serna is saying, I'm a 50 NL cash game player. I don't know why I hate my opponents, especially opponents who are good at poker. I have won good money at poker, but I hate when someone gets my money. Do you have a solution for that? Thanks.
Do you want me to tackle this one?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay, well, first off, nobody likes people taking their money off them. That's one of the things of being a poker player. We don't like losing, we like winning. However, you've got to put it into context and realize when you're a poker player, you're basically betting on yourself to have an edge on the competition over the sample size you're playing. And you've got to realize that's not going to come true every session. You're not going to have winning days, winning weeks every single time you play it, no matter how good you get. So there's a level of poker where you've got to have a level of acceptance that losing is part of the game. I work with a lot of MTT players at the moment, and I was getting them to look at their databases, and a lot of them lose 70% of days they play. So it's like, not only are you not winning like all the time, you're losing the majority for their scenario. So you've got to get used to people winning money from you. That's not your job. Your job is not to control the results. Your job is to sit there, hopefully with an edge in the game you're playing, play your best poker, and let the kind of poker cards decide on the outcomes and results. So you've got to question, why do you hate losing so much? What is it about losing? And I guess it'll be something around, you'll probably have your identity quite firmly attached to poker. So when you lose, it probably makes you feel like a loser or like a bad player or like a bad person. So you've got to think about, okay, why does losing hurt me? So if I asked you to write down why I hate losing so much, you'll come up with loads of things, and it'll give you a good basis to work from. And then you've got to try and think about, okay, all these kind of mindsets and identities I've formed, are they realistic? Are they going to help me in poker? So I can tell you, if you don't get used to people taking money off you, winning money at poker, and it upsets you and makes you play worse, or you hate it, is your terminology, you're not going to be able to sell a poker. Poker is not the right avenue, because it's always going to be there. You're always going to be losing. So you've got to reframe it. You've got to acknowledge the fact right now that you hate losing, which might be always the case. But how do you deal with it? How do you deal with losing? And you've got to basically change that narrative and start to question why it does affect you so much. And is there any way that you can get used to losing? And I think with poker, we can't change so many things, so we've got to get in alignment with them. So I'd say the phrase "embrace reality as it is what you need to do with poker. You will have to lose. Bad players will take money from you as well as good players. It's all going to happen. And yeah, I think I'm guessing by the way you've worded the question, you maybe haven't got a super big sample size or a super high experience in poker, because losing at poker becomes, we do get used to it. Obviously downswings hurt, going on long extended runs of losing hurts, but losing to one-off opponents in one-off sessions, you basically need to get under context and realize that is so part of the course. And question why it currently hurts you so much, and work from there.
Awesome. Great advice.
Yeah, I think that's a good advice. And also, I think I want to add something, because, I have a lot of experience with heads-up poker. And, from personal experience, for me, it was always harder when I was a little insecure. And I think he also said that he hates the good players. And I think that's what's happening here. Because if you know, okay, this guy open raises too much, he has leaks here, he 3-bets too much, this and that, and you know where your edge is coming from, then it's easy most of the time. So I think I struggled sometimes when I battled a rack and I wasn't really sure if I have a big edge and where the edge is coming from. So I think it also helps you a lot to just work on your game and just figure out why the other player is better, what makes him so good, and how you can become better yourself.
Love it. That's great advice.
Absolutely. It also kind of points out that don't make this personal. It's not you against the other guy, even if it's heads up. You're focusing on your own game. You're doing the best work you can. That's your focus. And there's a thing in sports called, or saying, don't focus on the scoreboard, right? If you want to win the game, focusing on the scoreboard is not going to help you in any way. Just focus on what you need to do. Keep your eyes on the ball instead of the scoreboard. That would be the idea. And in the poker world, the actual results, that's the scoreboard. It doesn't matter. You can reflect on what happened in the session when you're done with the session. Check the results if you want to, do your bookkeeping if you have to, do whatever. But in game, just focus on your decisions. Focus on the things that you control. All right. Yeah. And Diamond Apple has another advice that we can stack onto whatever we just talked about. He says, you have the chat, so insult them. It's not the best advice, but maybe it can help you let off some steam. I would strongly advise not to do that, because it's just it's not productive for yourself, because again, you're going to be focusing on being too personal. But I personally find it super funny when people actually explode in the chat. Funny and sad. I'm sad for them, but I'm just usually fine. Even if they say something really nasty towards me, I'm like, well, yeah, whatever. I don't care. Okay, so let's keep plowing on. So HDP is saying, I find being consistent after big positive variance more difficult than being persistent in downswing. It may be fear. My volume starts to go down after upswing and goes up in the downswing. Any advice on that? And actually, before we go into the advice, I think it's worth mentioning that from a psychological perspective, this phenomenon is when you're winning, you start trying to protect your wins because you feel like, okay, I'm up, so you're counting all the money that you can potentially lose. And when you're losing, you're actually trying to get back to even or whatever. So that's why this uneven distribution of how much you're playing happens, because you have two different motivations. One is to protect the money that you have, so obvious solution is to play less or just stop. And the other one is, okay, let's go, let's get it back. And this really comes back to the same thing of focusing on a scoreboard, because you shouldn't be focusing on a scoreboard, so this issue would never come up. That money is not somehow in the books and secured. It's a phenomenon of people kind of doing fake bookkeeping throughout the session, like for whatever reason, just because the session started 1 hour ago, you think that you're up whatever 2,000 for those 1 hour, right? So somehow you're protecting this money anymore. But what if you switch your focus to a week? What if you switch your focus to a month? What if you switch it to a year? In a bigger scheme of things, that one session is irrelevant, right? It's not the money that somehow come up. So if you're really truly a professional, you focus on your decisions, you focus on your process. You're playing the game because it's plus CV for you to play, not because you need to win X amount of dollars today. And as soon as you reach that number, then okay, let's quit. Because if that's how you approach poker, then what happens every day when you lose? All right. So anyway, Adam, I'll give it to you. So can you expand on this?
I think you killed it there with the whole psychology aspect of that. And yeah, so just to kind of give my two takes on it, I think, yeah, the psychology of chasing losses and protecting wins is what's happening there. And basically what you're doing is when you're winning, you're pretty much going into defense mode. And when you're losing, you're going into offense mode and you're trying to gain it back. So you've got to think what's driving your decisions to play. So first of all, I'd tell you stop and take a zoomed out perspective of the kind of impact of your decisions. So if you looked over the course of a year, for example, do you think it's a good idea to lower volume when you're winning and to increase volume when you're losing? Do you think is it helping you? Is it getting you towards your goals? You'd probably come to the assumption, no, Adam, that's not going to help me to get to my long-term goals. If anything, I prefer to play more when I'm winning and less when I'm losing, because generally you're playing slightly better poker if you're winning. If you're losing, often you'll play worse. So you've got to say, okay, the thought itself isn't very good. It's not really helping me. So what's going on? Why do I stop? So why do I try to protect my winnings? And like Runchuks said, you're basically keeping score at random intervals. I challenge you to not check your results for a week, to check them at the start of the week, end of the week, and see how that affects your volume during good patches. And also think of the feeling that makes you stop. So either it could be the result itself. You could just refresh your graph and see, I've won X amount. I feel good. Stop. I've lost X amount. Keep going. It could be something around the scorecard itself, or it could be the feeling. You may feel very satisfied when you win and want to stop. So notice when you win, what happens with your physiology. Do you feel good about yourself? Do you feel like you want to relax with friends? Do you feel like your work's done for the day? And can you get yourself past that initial feeling to make the correct process-driven choice of continue to play? So I think you've got to attack it from a few angles. And then again, from the downswing, playing for the downswing isn't too bad, but obviously I wouldn't want your volume going up during a downswing, because I think it's the wrong way to do it. You're generally chasing losses, playing for the wrong reasons, and not playing for you're playing your best poker. So yeah, I'd say basically understand the emotions that are driving this as well. When you're losing, why does it matter if you lose in a session or in a day? Or you're probably keeping score at random intervals, like Runchuks said. So challenge yourself not to keep score as often, and then also challenge it on the emotional level. When you feel like you're losing, maybe you you need to keep going because like that feeling is like nagging at you. You feel like you've wasted your day, you've wasted your time. It feels, the sunk cost fallacy, I think someone mentioned in that, but also like it feels worse to lose than it does to win. So when we lose, we feel really bad and we chase that. So I understand the feelings that come up when you're actually going through those situations is going to be helpful. And like V Card Killer, who Alan said, don't be too happy when you win. Don't be too sad when you lose. Keep everything in perspective. Look at it at a zoomed out lens of a longer sample sizes. Get things into context. Everything looks really dramatic, zoomed in. Imagine you've got like the most straight line poker results graph ever, and it's a 5-year graph. It's like this guy just experienced no variance whatsoever. It was perfect graph, but you zoomed in on a month, a week, a day, an hour, and it's going to be the most volatile thing you've ever seen. So what you're probably doing is taking a zoomed in lens, try and take a zoomed out lens, get more perspective, and try to battle through those emotions as well if it's an emotional issue rather than just the scorekeeping.
Awesome.
Yeah, nice. I think that's also something I learned over the years, just as seeing the bigger picture. I think that's something that comes over time.
Definitely.
All right, so I'm seeing there's a few more things in the chat. That basically V-Card Killer and Royal Flash and Punnyball, all these guys contributed to this question, and all good advice. So one guy is saying 90% of a problem for him is urge to watch porn. Well, okay, cool. Do you even need advice? I mean, you kind of put the finger on the problem yourself. So I don't know what. I mean, we already discussed the things of just making your environment such that, because if we would consider that he's serious, which I'm not 100% sure that he is, but if we would assume he is, then our previous advice about making your environment such that, for example, when you're playing, your work user account only has poker, doesn't even have a browser, right? Eliminate all the other distractions. Don't have your phone with you, because if it really is a problem for you, which for some people it actually is, right? So just eliminate that opportunity out of your life, out of your working space. So, and we discussed it in length already, and I suppose we just can move on, unless you wanna talk more about this.
I mean, I gotta say, it's a little funny because before we talked about, your work desk and then your Facebook share, and it's just, the thought is just funny to me that you have like the porn chair.
The porn chair, yeah.
Or whatever. It's kind of funny.
But still, having a porn chair, if that's actually a problem for him, is better than not having a porn chair, because then every surface in his living environment is going to end up a porn chair. Right? So try to get that out of your head now, guys. All right. Anyways, so let's move on. Punnyball has some other good advice. HDP is asking, any tips regarding a warm-up and cool-down perhaps for long online sessions? Adam, that's right up your alley.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so I saw V-Card Player did a good little in a bit on this as well, saying like Primed Mind by Elliot Rose, really good. He's got obviously the app that specializes in warm-ups and cool-downs. But let's look at what you're trying to achieve from both the warm-up and cool-down of online session. So the warm-up's basically to get yourself primed and ready to play your best poker, right? So you've got to think, how do you get yourself in the mode to play your best poker? So some people that's going to be meditating to get yourself in a calm, present, relaxed state. Some people that's going to be getting yourself really fresh on poker concepts. For me, I used to like to look over my note file on either regs or fish to get myself primed thinking about hands and spots, or to look over notes from a previous session to think about areas I need to improve on. So your warm-up, I'd say get yourself in an optimal position, condition to grind. That could be some form of strategy, or could be just meditating to relax yourself. Then I would set yourself some clear intentions for the session. So it could be session goals like what you're trying to focus on that session. It could be areas of your game strategy-wise that you're trying to improve on. And maybe have 1 to 3 session goals, focal points that you're going to put particular attention on improving. Then when it comes to cool down, it's basically, in my opinion, a cool down, the kind of objective of that is basically to detach from poker, but also to do a bit of reflecting. So I think a great protocol for cooling down is to analyze your session, give yourself a quick scorecard, something like rate your performance overall, rate your decision making, rate your focus, and rate your tilt control. Those kind of scoring cards out of 10 after each session, just to give yourself a summary of how you did. Any notes on the session, anything you might have done, any mistakes you might have made, anything you might need to do as a future study session, but just a quick summary. I'm talking, this is like a 5-10 minutes kind of wrap up. Some people do like to look over hand histories and do kind of solver work post session. If that works for you, you'll know it works for you and you should do that. But if not, the main thing I would say is to have a switch off, and I think scoring your session and then getting out of the office and doing something outside of poker is really beneficial. Whether that's meditating, whether that's going to the gym, going for a walk, spending time with friends. And yeah, I think for me personally, I used to always go to the gym after a session. So I used to grind early in my day, finish my grind session, do a quick summary of the session, and then go for a gym session, which allowed me to completely switch off from poker and then enjoy my kind of free time with my partner, my friends after that.
Cool.
Awesome. So what happens if you play more than one session? I guess you can go to the gym twice a day. Or maybe that's what you did.
I mean, the gym in between sessions is great. It's a great, I've got friends who play 10, 12-hour days and they kind of do a 6 hours gym, 6 hours. So it's fine for that as well. It's a good like kind of break up. If you do multiple sessions, then it's about, you've got to kind of have smaller warm-ups, smaller cool downs. And then at the end of the day, do like the kind of the big cool down. But yeah, I think it applies as well. If you're doing multiple sessions, having breaks where you get away from your computer is super plus EV.
All right.
Nice.
Okay, so what else? What else do you see, guys, in the chat? Because I actually scrolled all the way down, and now I'm not sure where we were.
We've got some people answering the question of the title of the life story. So remember, someone asked if you could summarize your life in 3 sentences, what would it be? We've got V Card Killer says, title, I give it my all. I've learned a lot from Adam, which is reflected on the felt and on life. Meditation has changed my view on life also, and I'll be forever great making that decision to build that habit. Making them commitments has made me a person I am today. That's awesome, really good. Great job for tackling that one, Alan. I know that was a tough topic. Okay, Royal Flush was the opposite. Yeah, I can't see that. I think. Oh, here's the one from StarCraft fan. Do you do brain training? Expand it, exercise for focus, for memory, and other skills important for poker. Spending time for exercises that have nothing in common with poker, but on the other side, improve skills that are super important for your game. Really good question. So yes, I would say like you could do. I say basically poker itself is a great kind of learning tool for focus and memory. So I'd say those 2 skills in particular, you get enough practice through poker. So like you don't need to download apps to improve your focus. You don't need to download memory learning apps because poker is such a really, really intensive learning environment for those. So you're naturally going to pick up those skills at a high level by focusing on poker. For focusing on poker, and that's going to really improve that skill set. And I think other skill sets in terms of brain training would kind of be like not really related in other ways. So basically, poker would be the kind of focus and memory training, and I would do things around exercise, nutrition that would optimize my mental state and my physiology of my brain over the long term. So yeah, I think meditating, exercise, diet are kind of, although they're not exactly brain training, they're things that are going to optimize your brain to think better for poker. But yeah, it'd be interesting. What do you guys think on any kind of specific brain training and learning skill sets that are relevant to poker? Anything that you guys have done in your careers?
I gotta say, not really. Not when it comes to poker, like playing, but maybe more about the work environment and how I want to structure my day. So more, about or around poker, around being more efficient, but not like training my brain or something. Nothing like that.
Right.
And also, I'm not sure if it's that useful, to be honest, because as you mentioned before, I mean, you're using your brain so much every day, and I just feel like it exhausts me more than it helps me, you know. I feel like that it just would be too much and it would take away from my time playing poker.
Yeah.
Right.
Crazy Hawk just added something saying Luma City was my brain training app, but I agree that poker is more than enough. So I think that's the kind of app where you go through focus exercises, you go through memory exercises, and you get given a score. From what I remember you showing me of this Oscars, yeah, basically it's a scorecard where you improve a skill set of focus or memory, and you get like kind of score relative to that, and that can be something to do on the side. But yeah, I do for the most part, if you're playing poker a lot, you're going to really learn to focus through the skill set of poker, and you don't need to do too much extra curriculum work in the avenues of memory and focus in particular.
Right. Well, I also feel that, you know, a pure brain exercise, like a brain gym, is not really useful for poker. Poker is very specific, requires a very specific set of skills. So for myself, the things that I've studied the most, which are related to the sort of performance, the brain performance, let's call it this way, are the decision-making process as such. So I did a lot of work on trying to create models for myself for decision-making, which help me achieve peak performance and when I have to make decisions. Because in the end of the day, poker is all about decision-making, right? So you're better off making sure that you really know what you're doing and you have clear structures in mind. And also, I worked a lot and I still work a lot, and it's one of the topics that I'm most passionate about is learning and information retention, right? Which comes together with how your brain works and how you retain the information, how you can recall the information, and it comes together with the decision-making process, because if you can't use the information that you have, let's say you study Moncur Solver or Pio Solver or anything really, any notes, you study them like, let's go crazy, let's say 8 hours a day. It's worth nothing if you can't use that information when you need it, when you're playing. All right. So all of those 8 hours could have been, you know, spent wiser. So to me, you know, these are the focus areas for myself. Like, how do I retain information? How do I assimilate information? And how do I make my decisions by integrating that information in the process?
Yeah, I agree. You've got to ask yourself, is it the best use of your time, or is your time better off spent learning more specific skills for poker?
Yeah, exactly. All right. What else? I feel like we, for the most part, covered the chat. What do you guys think? What is the next big thing we want to talk about?
All right, we've got 3 options for you guys in the chat. I want you to say performance, if you want us to talk about habits, routines, mindset, if you want to talk about anything, mindset, or lifestyle, if that's up your street. So I'll let you guys dictate the action. So performance, mindset, or lifestyle. Talk Galfond.
Talk Galfond. And he was so quick as well. All right, let's talk Galfond.
Okay, we've got mindset 1-0.
Okay, well, mindset is going to be straight after Galfond. I need about 1.5 hours on this topic. No, okay, I'm going to be quick. Well, I suppose one person asked in the beginning of our episode, what was the question actually? He asked like if I'm playing Galfond or something like that.
He said talk Galfond.
Yeah, well, now he's saying talk Galfond, but another person in the beginning asked like something about Galfond challenge. No Galfond challenge. Oh, no Galfond challenge. So yeah, no Galfond challenge for me. I announced it quite some time ago now. I announced it on several channels, I suppose, if you haven't heard it. So yeah, I'm not doing the challenge for many reasons. I addressed a lot of them in the previous episode that we did, so you guys actually can check it out on my YouTube channel. That's the previous episode of the show that we did. It's around the 50-minute mark that we start talking about the challenge, and my reasons for opting out. A super quick summary would be, it's not a good time in my life to accept a challenge of such scale, right? Because the way I see it, it is a huge personal challenge for something that would tie me up for about 4 months, and something that I would have to commit absolute full focus. So there would be absolutely nothing else in my life for those 4 months. And it's just not a good time for me to do it right now. I'm still entertaining an idea, and we talked with Phil about it, that we might do the challenge later next year at some point. But I'm not committing to anything just yet. I'm moving house. I want to settle in. I want to sort my life in a new place where I'm moving, and then we'll see. So anyway, that's shortly about that. If you want more details, you can look it up in the previous stream episode, as I said. So Jane Andes. Well, yeah, I mean, Jane Andes, I don't even know if I want to get into this because I'm slightly upset by what happened there. Because I suppose many of you guys know that Jane Andes accepted the challenge last minute, and we talked about it last week. And I was sort of happy that at least somebody was representing the coaching community, because otherwise Galfond is just getting a free roll of publicity. And it's a beautiful publicity for him because, of course, he's doing the challenge in a time of the year when it's really convenient for him. He has all his life sorted out for, just doing these challenges. There's nothing else that he needs to do. That's his plan, right? So just because nobody else was able to accept the challenge for any reason, it didn't look good. So I was happy that Jane Andes accepted, even though, well, anyway, I don't want to go into these things, but one thing that I was slightly concerned about is that before accepting it, he tried to negotiate the stakes down to 1020, which was a bit laughable, and then he managed to sell the action in like one day. Anyway, yesterday night apparently he bailed out. He just announced that okay, he's not doing it. He underestimated it, and you guys can probably look up his excuse somewhere on Twitter. I don't want to elaborate on that. It just seems to me that it's a bit of a bullshit reason, and I'm slightly disappointed that he approached it in such a way where he signed up for something so huge without knowing that it's so huge. Like it seems a bit unreasonable, especially, to me, I feel like even though we're not in the same category of coaching as like me and Jane Andes and even Phil Galfond, we're not in the same business per se, right? Their coaching is mostly content oriented. It's mostly video material. Mine, or in general, Bluff the Spot, we are doing a more personalized approach, working directly with our students, right? So there's a different business concept, but I feel that, as a coach, you should at least show the example of, we know what we're doing in this business. So we're making good decisions about where we play, how we play, why we play, how we think about these things. And the way he handled all this situation, it really seemed like he made a rash decision to jump in, and then he realized, well, he probably sold almost all of his action. Then he realized, well, it's not great for my investors because, yeah, I'm gaining the publicity. EV here, I don't really care about the money, but for them, they probably pulled the plug on saying, well, listen, you either commit to it full time or you don't. So it's a bit sad. I mean, I'm sad to see that it happened the way it did. But apart from Jane Andes, which is sad, like I said, Perkins and Veni Vidi, that's absolutely amazing. I think it's great. It's great for poker. It's great for PLO. I'm going to be watching all the time. I mean, obviously, I'm going to be watching because I might still play Galfond in some format later next year. But Perkins is going to be super entertaining. Now, Veni Vidi is... I'm super excited about this one because I do have some behind-the-scenes information from what's going on there, and I'm curious to see how it's going to pan out. I mean, it's only 25,000 hands, but I'm sure that Veni Vidi is going to come in super prepared for the challenge. And I mean, Galfond, of course, is going to be super prepared as well. He has a very strong team behind him. He absolutely knows what he's doing. These people are going to do a lot of prep work. It's going to be beautiful poker. But I'm really curious to see, Veni Vidi against Galfond. That's gonna be huge. And also, there's Jungle Man. Okay, it's a 7,500 hand challenge. It's not a big deal, but it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a lot of entertainment. And to be honest, both Perkins and Veni Vidi in this case is more entertainment than an actual challenge, because what made the initial proposition of the challenge so great was the 50,000 hand requirement. Because that 50,000 hands, that's what makes it so hard. That's what makes it such a humongous undertaking. Whereas, let's say playing, 10,000 hands or something like that, that's not really a big deal. You're in for like a couple of weeks of playing, and okay, wherever time you have before that, leading up to that for preparation, that's your own thing. So I'm slightly sad not to see any 50K challenges. I would really want to see how it pans out. Especially I want to see how it pans out from Galfond's side, because, we are in similar situation with him in a way that he also has a 1-year-old kid. And I just really want to see how he's going to handle that. For me, it's just out of curiosity. I just want to rail his personal life panning out in this 4 or 5 months of huge challenges that he's going to play. So yeah. What else?
To me, rec battles are also way more interesting than, for example, the Galfond against Perkins. It's just not the same, and there's nothing you can learn really.
Oh yeah.
So I'm also a little sad because I was really looking forward to the challenge, to the Hernandez against Galfond challenge. And what do you think? Who's better, Hernandez or Vedi?
I mean, I already said in the previous stream that I don't think Hernandez can be considered a favorite there. Phil is definitely a favorite. He has a stronger team behind him. He has way more experience. He really knows what he's doing. Because, I mean, again, this challenge is not only about playing poker. It's about playing poker over a specific period of time for 50,000 hands. And regardless of your results, you have to play the next day. You have to stand. It's a mental challenge. It's a mental, physical, emotional challenge. It's a huge undertaking where you have to have your life really sorted out. We discussed in a previous stream last week that when I was thinking about the challenge, and I was really, really, really thinking about it for 3 weeks, we were discussing with Phil on a very regular basis, trying to make things happen. And, I was thinking about things like, okay, who do I hire as a mental coach? Who do I hire as people who would help me with analyzing the game? Who would I hire with helping me with the theory material? Who would I hire as a cook? Who would I get as a nutritionist? You have to consider that this is a huge, huge undertaking. So yeah, anyway, that's what interests me about these challenges. But like you said, with Veni Vidi, who is a reg and a pretty good one in that, it's going to be great. We all are going to be able to learn something from that one. It's going to be very entertaining, I believe, and it's going to be good poker on both sides. I'm really looking forward to that. Now, as to, I wasn't even that much looking forward to Galfond against Hernandez, because as soon as it was announced, and I don't know if that's true, but as soon as it was announced, it was said that Hernandez has a 400,000 stop loss. I don't know if it's accurate. Maybe that's bullshit. Maybe that's something that was made out of thin air. But to me, as soon as I read it, I was like, oh, this is bullshit, because that's 20 buy-ins. That's 20 buy-ins. Are you really saying like, oh, I'm going to commit to 50,000 hands, which is the only thing that I love about this challenge, the 50,000 hands part. That's what's sexy about it. But hey, you're committing to 20 buy-ins? Are you serious now? It's a 20 buy-in battle. I mean, this thing can be over in 2.5 days. That wasn't, so I was slightly disappointed about that, and I don't know if that was accurate. Maybe there was no such clause, but I'm sure that there must have been some sort of stop loss on his part. And I mean, obviously, when I was thinking about the financial aspect of the challenge for myself, of course, I was also considering a stop loss. but not 20 buy-ins. I mean, come on. Then what's the point of announcing a 50K challenge if you're gonna commit to 20 buy-ins?
Yeah, 20 buy-ins in heads-up PLO poker is nothing. I mean, you could lose that in 2 hours.
All right. Oh, actually, somebody in the chat is saying that Perkins has the 20 buy-in stop loss. Yeah, Perkins definitely has the 20 buy-in stop loss. Now, Jainandas, I think, had stop loss as well. But like I said, I don't even know, because you know how journalism works. People just write shit without verification and without anything, and they just don't care. And so I want to stress that I actually don't know whether it was true. But again, I'm like any other human being. I read things and then I'm pissed about them, right? So, and then I tried to research whether it's true. So I was pissed about it for a bit. But anyway, the challenge is not happening, and that's was sad, really. But whatever.
So there's another question for Adam. Do you miss poker?
Yeah, I'd say I'd miss the challenge of learning and growing and improving. I missed like the kind of the early years of poker was the biggest kind of challenge and learning curve for me. In terms of now, I don't feel like I miss it at all. As long as I am progressing with what I'm doing, that's kind of my cue that I'm doing the right thing. And for me, growth's my highest value. So I get so much growth from helping other people, coaching and improving in that avenue that it's really fulfilling for me right now. So no, I'm not someone who like kind of dwells and stuff and looks back and stuff. So yeah, I don't miss probably too much other than like the competitive nature of learning the game early on. So yeah, I'd say that would be the summary of that one.
All right, cool. And I see that your mate there, VCard Killer, is asking whether I'm a cash game player and on PokerStars, and same username. Yeah, that's me. I'm on PokerStars. Runchuks is my screen name. I'm a PLO cash game player. That's where you would see me most of the time.
Oh, I thought he was asking the other guy in the chat.
Cool. It might have been.
Now you know.
It might have been that. So, okay. Well, that's sorted.
So there's some no limit hold'em versus PLO questions there probably for you to tackle, Runchuks. When learning poker, would you focus on just no limit hold'em or pot limit Omaha? Any beneficial of learning both games simultaneously? I guess that's probably one for you to tackle.
Right. Well, there's a problem with learning anything simultaneously, right? Because, I mean, these two games are quite far apart. So whether you want to jump into both of them from... Like, it all depends on your starting point. Because, you know, I work with some people who are nosebleed 10-game players or 8-game, well, mixed game players, right? So they actually study so many games at the same time on a daily basis. But if you're starting out in poker, if you're just learning poker, I would suggest sticking to one game, because you are more likely to achieve success that way, because you're just gonna... Because, you know, in the beginning, there's so much to learn. And the biggest problem is you don't even know how to learn, you don't know what to learn and why to learn it, right? So you're basically in the blind. So it's better to be in the blind at least in one game, and then expand, open up your understanding of the game. And then, but by all means, yeah, eventually, once you achieve something in one game, do learn other games, you know, because we always talk about the importance of being able to jump into a good game. Table selecting. Well, sometimes the good game is Hold'em. Sometimes the good game is PLO. Well, you're just shooting yourself in the foot if you can't jump into the other game, right? But I personally would suggest to focus on PLO in the current economy of poker, just because the games are usually better in a way that the player pool is softer. At least that's my opinion, and we had this question many times on these streams, and I think we always arrived to the same conclusion that it's PLO probably is the more profitable game to master at this moment. Especially also, you have to consider that there's not that much good quality material out there available for studies. So if you manage to secure good material, good team, or a good coach, you're immediately at a huge advantage compared to the rest of the field. Whereas in Hold'em, even things like pre-flop charts, etc., they're so readily available, so easy to get your hands on. So it's just a question of who studies more, who studies better. Because even at the low stakes in Hold'em, people do a lot of theory work. Whereas in PLO, they might think they do a lot of PLO, a lot of theory work, but they're actually just wasting their time because, there's not that much easily available information out there. At least not that much quality information.
I have to say, I think I disagree on that one. So I also think that PLO nowadays is the more profitable game, but I think he's talking about a beginner, and then it's just way easier to learn no limit hold'em, in my opinion, because, for example, pre-flop, you have all the charts, and it's just way easier to learn. Whereas in PLO, you have to memorize all the ace-king combos, and then you have to look at ace-queen XX. It's just more complicated. And also, for lower stakes, I think that the rake is just higher in PLO. So I totally agree that once you're good enough, you should switch to PLO, and it's more profitable. But I think if you're a beginner, it's just way easier to learn no limit hold'em.
Right, but the question is, because I don't think we disagree here, Toby, because I agree with you, it's way easier to learn, but that's what makes PLO more profitable, because it's way easier to learn for absolutely everyone, right? Whereas to get into PLO, whoever secures better material, whoever finds better resource is an immediate advantage, right? So in that sense, it depends on the goal of this person. If you just want to learn a game where you're comfortable playing it, sure, Hold'em is going to be your game, right? Because it's easier to learn. But if you want to actually achieve longer term success, because Toby, as you said, like, for example, once you sort of get to a decent level in Hold'em, you should still consider switching to PLO, but then you're square one because, again, you're facing the same problem. You have to build up your knowledge in this new game. So let's say if getting to a comfortable level in Hold'em took you 2 years, well, you could have used those 2 years in studying PLO.
Okay, but don't you think when you're starting from scratch that it's easier to build a bankroll with Hold'em?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I think it's easier, but again, it's easier for everyone. So taking the easiest route is not always the one that's going to serve you best. It obviously comes. It really depends because some people get into poker with like an immediate need for financial reward. They can't wait for 2 years to master the game. They can't just say, okay, I have, this much money that I'm investing in developing my game, and it's going to take me 1 year, and I'm fine with that. I don't need to gain anything out of it. Of course, some people get into this business when they're like, okay, I either start making money from month number 1, or I'm fucked. My advice to such a person would be do something else, find a job. No, really, because this is not a business where you should just because like Adam described in the beginning when his introduction, his mates just said, hey, listen, there's this thing called poker. People apparently making hundreds of thousands doing this thing. Sounds like fun. How about we go to Bali and do it? Well, guess what? That was some years ago. Nowadays, your mate in university is going to come and say, hey, you know what? I've seen people make a shitload of money playing poker. How about we try? I would say, get the fuck out of here. Get a job, right?
Yeah.
Make yourself financially stable. And then if that's your passion, go for it. And again, still a lot of young people are in a position where they're students, where they're, perhaps living with their parents, or they're somehow otherwise financially secure. They can afford to explore this avenue for themselves. They can afford to try to get into this, in which case I have nothing but encouragement for them. Go for it. All right, but don't put yourself in a position where you have to learn the game to make money immediately, because that's not going to happen. I went
Yeah,
on
I
a
mean,
bit
I
of a
also,
tangent there and a bit of a rant, but I guess that was
yeah, I think I have a different approach. I also teach some beginners, and the way I did it was I took something that was really easy, for example, spin goes, because 20 big blind poker is just easy, and you can learn it quickly, and it's only small blind, big blind, and button, and then you can expand from there, and then you can add 50 big blinds. You can add the button, the cutoff, and earlier positions, and I feel like that's for a beginner just easier. I feel like it's just too much if you want to start with PLO and learn everything at the same time. I think there's just too much, and also it's just harder grinding your way up because the rake is so high on lower stakes.
right. Well, I can't argue with your opinion because I agree, actually. I agree with what you're saying, and it makes absolute sense. But it all depends on what are the initial goals of the person getting into this, right? It all depends on the goal. If you want to get into this and start getting results and success quickly, then of course going the easy route, you master the game, which is a simple one, like a 20 big blind poker sit and go thing, of course, but time value of money here is important, because let's say if it takes you X amount of months or years to get to a level where you're comfortable switching to a more profitable game, could you have from the very beginning try to get into this more profitable game is the only question, right? So, and different things for different people. I'm sure there's people who are gonna say, well, the approach that I'm proposing here is the absolute best, and I'm sure some people is gonna say, no, that wouldn't ever work for me. And I don't think there's one correct answer here. It's just, it really depends on what your goals are. What are you setting out to do?
Yeah, I think you're
I
right on
think
that. Like, there's not a one size fits all approach. Some people are going to be in a situation, a lot of people, where they want to make money quickly and easily in the short term to give themselves that confidence that they can do poker and also financial support. Other people are going to approach poker from a long-term perspective from day one, and they're going to be more suited to making the kind of longer-term investment up front in terms of learning the skill sets that's going to be more valuables over the long term. So yeah, I think it's an interesting question. You should probably go into poker asking yourself which of those personalities you are. Do you want the easy option in the short term, which might not lead to the best long-term option, or are you willing to take the harder long-term approach for a potential bigger upside over the long term and kind of battle through the kind of short-term situations that are going to be caused by that? So yeah, I think it's a mindset issue in terms of your situation you're in, the way you're approaching poker. Looking at my kind of starting point in poker, I was kind of the naive, get quick money easily. So I would have chose no limit hold'em even now. But if I put myself back in that situation, was that right? Possibly not. And I think my mindset's definitely improved on my poker journey, and I wouldn't make as kind of reckless decisions like that. I think more like Runchuks said about the long-term investment and maybe going for the harder skill set is the way to go. And that's the thing. Everyone goes for the easy option. So by definition, it becomes congested. Whereas the hard option, although it's hard by definition, generally a lot less crowded there. And yes, it takes a little bit of time to get off the ground, but the rewards for doing that and getting off the ground can be a lot more lucrative over longer samples.
so.
Right.
Personally, I think it's not one way or the other. I feel like it's, for example, if you want to play MTTs, like 20 big blind poker is just a solid foundation you need, and then you can build your game after that. And also, if you want to start with PLO, I would suggest starting with 30 big blinds or 50 big blinds, and then step by step get better at playing deeper stacks. Yeah,
So what would
I
you,
just
sorry,
sorry?
no. I was just saying that
I
crazy.
just
I just said,
think
like, if you were a profitable high stakes spin and go player like he is, would it be profitable to switch over to PLO? And basically, what does the transition look like? So it sounds like, Toby, you've got experience of playing spin and goes and stuff. What is the transition from a kind of very specialist low BB 3-man format like spin and goes? what's the transition to PLO like in terms of the transition you need to make that an effective switch?
So I think first of all you need a bankroll, and you want to find something you can make money with. I mean, maybe in theory it's better to just study market ranges for a year and then start with like PLO 200. But in reality, that's not really what people do. It's just super hard in practice. So I think grinding your way up till you have like enough money to play decent stakes, and then you can switch to PLO. And also, I felt like there was an open question because he said it's either PLO or Hold'em. So it also depends on his goals. If he wants to, become just a big winner one day. He can also start with no limit Hold'em, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good open question with a lot of angles to approach, and I think the main thing is understanding your own situation, your own mindset, your own expectations, and choosing the path that's the fit for that. So yeah, I think we covered that from a number of angles.
Yeah.
I think my main point is that it's going to be hard to build a bankroll with PLO.
Yeah.
As a total beginner.
Yeah.
Because for us or for me it wasn't that hard because I had been playing Hold'em and poker for years before I started to play PLO. But I think for a total beginner, it's a lot. You have to learn so much. Just all the pre-flop stuff is so much already. And I also agree that long term, the more complex the game is, the more money you can earn. But as a beginner, it's just too much to handle, I think.
Yeah.
Well,
and obviously, I'm not saying you should play, spin and goes for a living. That's really not what I'm saying. It's just to find like a niche market, and then to build your bankroll, and then you can transition to playing like real poker and profitable poker.
Right.
And by the way, there's a good book. It's called 0 to 1.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've read it.
Peter
Thiel. He also talked about that. For example, Tesla, or any other small business, it's always important to dominate a niche market first, and then to go for the bigger market. And I think it's kind of the same concept in poker. Because it's so hard to start, with mid-stakes below. It's difficult. It's hard. You can't just jump in there and study for 2 months. It just takes too much time, and you also need a bankroll.
Right. Well, but coming back to the issue of it's hard to build your bankroll in PLO, I'm not sure if I 100% agree with it. It's harder than Hold'em, perhaps on the level that there's more challenges mentally, because the variance is going to be higher. You're going to basically from day one, you already have to deal with all the 6 swings and stuff. But I personally know a lot of currently high stakes players who started out in PLO, built their bankroll in PLO, and achieved huge success, and are still out there. So it's not, I don't know if it's really that much harder. There's probably a survivorship bias there, because the variance is going to be much higher, so it's easier to give up trying in PLO, because it's more likely that you're going to have one very volatile swing that's just going to wipe you out, and you might lose interest in pursuing this as a career. But apart from that factor, I don't know if it's actually that much harder. Because, coming back to what you said, Toby, of, you can just take the charts and just play the easy game. Well, the problem is the other people at the table also have the same fucking charts. Right? Because eventually you're going to reach a level where everybody has those charts. Okay, maybe if you're playing like an NL2 or something, then you're the only guy in the village who knows that charts exist, right? That's a great spot for you. But at some point, you're going to have to start making money. So you're going to have to move up from NL2. And you're going to just arrive at this fest of people, sitting on stacks of charts and studying them throughout. Anyway, how about because I see one question that I really want to address, because it's 8 o'clock and Arthur is supposed to come on stream. So Arthur, if you're listening, hi. Sorry, man. We're gonna take some more time. And guys, those of you who are tuning in to see Arthur play, he's gonna be right after us, and we apologize for that. But anyway, the question is, or rather a statement is, that considering poker as a sport, why hasn't anybody dominated at top like Roger Federer in tennis? I mean, why hasn't poker generated what is it, GOAT?
Greatest of all time.
Greatest of all time. All right. So greatest of all time that are famous. Why do players at the top retire quickly? I believe that's a great question. Who wants to chip in?
Yeah, I can tackle that. So I'd say you've used like an analogy of someone like Roger Federer, who even in his own sport is quite an anomaly. There's three of them, Djokovic and Nadal in tennis at the moment, who are kind of all-time greats in the same era, which is quite rare. But something like tennis is although it's improving at a decent rate, like most sports are still progressing, it hasn't had the same exponential growth curve that something like poker has. If you go back even like 5 years of poker, very unprofessional, very different climate. So maybe since 2008 onwards with the online poker boom, it's a very new market compared to something like tennis that's been around 100 years. So the rate of growth is much, much bigger. When the rate of growth's higher, the turnover of players is higher. And the players that we're getting into the poker today will be a lot better than the poker players who got into poker 3-4 years ago. So they're naturally going to be the new top guys 3 or 4 years in the future. So you've got to look at like basically the climate itself that's progressing faster than something like tennis. You could argue that there is kind of greatest of all time poker players, but poker is a very, very horrible market to even kind of answer that question. We're generally going to base it based on results, which as we know are not the be all and end all. So if you could look at like everyone's lifetime AV and stuff like that, and you could probably make some good analogies. But I think poker is very much has shorter windows of basically people playing the top. Another reason for the shorter window is it's very demanding to stay at the top in poker, really, really demanding. And often when you start out in poker, you've got that initial hunger, that initial drive. You want to be the best. You want to change your situation financially, and you're really driven by that. When you get to the top, and staying at the top becomes a different kettle of fish, and it becomes you've got different motivations to stay at the top rather than getting to the top. And this is the same for sport, but I think poker it's very it's more applicable because you get so much. When you achieve a lot in poker, you get the financial rewards, you get the lifestyle, and for a lot of people, that's what they got into poker for. Something like tennis, I think maybe it would probably be more fulfilling in itself to play tennis for a longer time. But yeah, I think when you get to the top, players retire because, well, some players do, because they've achieved everything they wanted financially. The challenge of poker is more incremental rather than continuing to improve. But yeah, I say that the way you've worded the question, in my opinion, I'd be interested to see what Runchuks and Toby say on this. But yeah, I'd say because it's a newer kind of field to explore, the standards still getting better and better all the time, and the methods to get good are improving. So for example, if you're the best player 5 years ago, you're probably a very good field player, had a very different skill set. But if you're one of the best players now, you're probably an expert with solvers. You're really good at analytical, using data, and the skill sets are different. So if you were amazing 5 years ago, you have to completely change the way you approach the game in order to keep up with the new learning trends to still be one of the best players, and that's hard. That's hard because you've already mastered one form of skill set and you're now going to master another one. So yeah, that's my opinions, and I'd be interested to hear you guys pick up on that.
Right. First of all, I want to say that it's really, I really agree with what you're saying about this being a new sport, or let's not even call it a sport. It's a new field, right? So of course, the people who are coming in now are displacing the previous generations because of all the things that you mentioned. But also, it's important to note that there's no like single playing field, right? The people that were great, let's say, the people who were at the top of one game, let's say the best Hold'em player, right? If they haven't retired, they probably are playing in a super lucrative private game somewhere, which nobody hears about, and they're making millions, and they don't give a fuck about what anybody thinks, Uh, or they are a mixed game player right now. A mixed game player is a different animal because these guys, they basically, clearly, they can't be the best at all of the games. So they have their strongest games and they work super hard on every single game, but they're going to have their weak parts and their strong parts. And they're, whoever is the best mixed game player, you put him up against the best Hold'em player, the best Hold'em player is going to be better. The best PLO player is going to be better. But the thing is, as an overall package, the mixed guy is going to just crush the games because he's on average better on all of the games combined. All right, so a lot of these guys from the years that passed, they moved on to greener fields in a way, enabled by having the huge bankrolls that they built, which allows them to play these super nice private games and allows them to play the mixed games and all the other stuff, right? And also what Adam mentioned about once you reach the top, for a lot of people, reaching the top was the goal. It was the goal. So basically, you're motivated by reaching the top. So what happens when you reach the top, right? It's basically like, okay, so now what? It's kind of lonely here at the top, right? And I experienced it in some form because I kind of had let's be dramatic and call it existential crisis. When I realized, well, listen, I'm playing the highest stakes online right now. So where do I go from here? Took me a day to figure it out because I figured, well, this wasn't it wasn't the goal anyway. I'm just focused on the process, and it's just part of the process. I still don't feel that I am the player that I want to be. It's still work in progress. I'm still learning every day, and that's what drives me. And the other people around me, all the opponents that I play against, they are still learning as well. So it's not like just because I keep learning every day that somehow I'm going to be an absolute pinnacle of achievement. It's not going to happen. Everybody is improving. The level is rising. So, probably the gap between the top players and the mid-tier players, this gap is increasing. But eventually, who knows? Like maybe people who achieve the greatest success in the next couple of years, they will just switch games. They will do something else. And there's no benefit for poker players to be public about their winnings, to be public about how they're doing, what they're playing. There's really no benefit. Like a sponsorship deal, first of all, who needs it in a poker world? Because you're not going to get sponsored by Nike or something. That would be a cool thing. But like if you got to get sponsored by, well, let's not call names, but then it's like, how much money is that really worth? If you're a really successful high stakes player, that probably isn't even worth for you the time the requirements of you like showing your face and publicly supporting the product. It just isn't even worth it. So there's no incentive for being public and open about your success. And I think longevity here is really admirable, and people like Source, people like Jungle Man, I mean, who's to say that they're not the best ever, so far at least? These guys are around forever, and they still keep crushing. They just don't keep crushing online. They just are not visible in your PokerStars lobby as they used to be. That's the only difference.
Yeah, I think you guys made great points. There's one thing I want to add. I think variance plays a huge role here. Because, for example, tournaments, it's just so hard to say. It's not like chess, in chess, the better player wins every time. And it's just not the case in poker. And I also feel like the more variance is involved, the harder it is to say who's the GOAT. For example, if you say who's the GOAT in in cash games online. It's easier to say than live MTTs because there's just too much variance. Whereas, you know, in high stakes cash games online, there's less variance because there's just more sample size.
Yeah.
So I think there you can boil it down and you can say, you know, there's Sauce, there's Jungle-Man, there's Galfond.
Absolutely,
in live
Galfond, yeah.
entities, you know,
Because
in
also,
live
like, because
entities,
what's the
there's-
metric, you know? Because if you think about it, like, what is, what makes a player great? What's the metric here? Are we measuring how much EV he generated lifetime? Are we measuring what are the metrics actually? You know, because again, like people have different goals, different aspirations. Some people are content with achieving a very comfortable financial freedom, and some people are not happy until they, like Jungleman said, he wants to break the spirit of Galfond in the challenge. Right? This guy is driven by just proving a point, and I found it really funny. You know, I'm gonna be watching that one with a lot of interest. But anyway, Toby, continue. I kind of jumped in mid-sentence there for you.
Oh, no, it's fine. I just wanted to say, you know, in chess or also tennis, it's easier because the better player is gonna win 90% of the time. Whereas in poker, that's just not the case. You know, if you're way better than your opponents, even then you're only gonna win a tournament like 1 out of 100 times or so. So it's just so hard to say.
And like Runchuks said, there's so many disciplines and so many variables to measure from. It becomes an impossible question to answer. It's almost like saying who's the greatest sportsman of all time. People have their opinions on that, but comparing tennis to golf to football, it's like you can't really get any conclusive answers other than how dominant they were in a certain era, at a certain time. It's the same for poker, and obviously, I think with poker, if you had to judge it, you're going to judge it by longevity, being able to beat the games, the high stakes games for the longest period of time, and that's it's a hard one to know. So yeah, I think we covered it from quite intensively there.
Yeah. All right. So one last question before we wrap up. Question that just popped up: can a stake be beaten without any rakeback, PLO or hold'em? Absolutely, because in Poker Stars at the moment there's 0 rakeback. Any stake above 1,000, I suppose, so above 510 in pot limit or no limit variance, there is no rakeback. Beatable, very much beatable. So yeah, it's possible, it's doable. All right, guys, what else? Adam, do you have something like a big last thing that you want to impart to our users?
Yeah, so I just say thanks for tuning in, guys. Hopefully you guys are working on your performance, working on your mindset, and trying to cultivate a life out of poker that's getting you towards your long-term outcomes. So hopefully this conversation between the three of us has sparked you to think about the choices you're making. Hopefully you're going to be acting a little bit more professionally with the way you approach the game and continuing to work on creating that lifestyle you want for poker. I think we touched on a lot of topics around optimizing performance, overcoming procrastination, how to get the most out of your career, choices of formats and stuff like that. So I think we covered a lot of things really well today, and hopefully you guys got some value from it and can take some actionable steps into your lives from it.
Awesome. Toby, you have anything to say?
Yes, first of all, I want to say thank you because I feel like I learned a lot from you. I'm also looking forward to seeing your course. I think it's going to take a while, right? You're still working on it?
It'll be ready early January. I'm kind of working like a madman at the moment to get all the modules done by New Year, and then I'll be doing all the editing and marketing early January.
All right, perfect. I'm really looking forward to that one. So yeah, thanks a lot. And also thank you to the viewers or listeners, however you may call it. Right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, and just before we go, I'm still about to post a link to Adam's YouTube channel to the guys in the chat. So first, I posted the link to my YouTube channel in case you guys want to catch up with the episode. This episode is going to be uploaded as well this week, and you can catch up with the previous ones. there. And this link that I just posted is the link to Adam's YouTube channel. Definitely check it out. Subscribe if you haven't already. You know, he's putting out material every week, twice a week. It's great, and I know that it's hard work. You know, I mean, there's not many people that put good quality material out there on YouTube, right? And so definitely check his channel out. It's definitely worth it. And what else? Well, guys, I really appreciate everybody in the chat. It's been great. You directed our conversation in some very interesting topics. And Adam, thank you very much for coming on. It's been. I also learned a lot myself. You know, I always enjoy a conversation that you know, after once you're done with the conversation, you're like, okay, so how do I incorporate what I just heard? You know, how do I, you know, and some of the things were a nice refresher, and it's just such a great thing, great feeling. And like I said, guys, check his channel out, because you know, if you can get motivation for improving some of the aspects of your professional career in poker, you know, that's a great way to start. And also, I mean, if you haven't already, check out our own page. You know, you have all the links down there for Bluff the Spot if you're interested in coaching specifically in Hold'em or PLO. We're here for you. Anyway, thank you all, and we'll see you all next time.
Cheers, guys.
Bye. Thanks.